Yo, Precise Progression 97, 100 shots in this Mental Mac 11. Hey, man, happy 4th of July, man, first of all, you know what I'm saying? I'm not really big on the American independence ideology, but I am big on the American independence ideology because we don't get to this moment that we at right now if we don't fight for everything we supposed to get in this motherfucker. It's just when these white folks see that we capitalize and take advantage of one benefit that we might have, they find new ways to kind of suppress growth in other ways. They find other ways to suppress our growth because they've seen that we've overcame this barrier and that barrier, because they've seen over the years that we is willing to fight for everything we want, and everything that we've ever had we fought for. The problem now is a lot of you motherfuckers done got content with this illusion of freedom, you know what I'm saying, which is partially is freedom, because we are able to go out here and capitalize on some of the benefits that do exist within this very historically dark country. You understand what I'm saying? So we have been granted the access to a lot more freedoms than what we've known to have in the past, but it's still not full freedom, because when you look around, it's still people being suppressed for speaking on the truths that exist today. And every time we speak on those truths, you always got people that say, oh, well, we ended slavery, we ended this. Well, y'all also replaced that with H-1B visas that threaten the jobs of black Americans who live off the backs of the people who actually did the real work to make this place what it is today. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, it's like every time they open a new door for us, they always make sure they lock other doors that could get us other types of freedom, you know what I'm saying, that we rightfully deserve, because we've been over here struggling, going through it, working, maneuvering, making things happen, overcoming, overstepping. And every time we overstep, they always make sure that the next obstacle that we have to step over is a much bigger one, and they make sure that it can beat us further because we might have been tired from the previous obstacle that we had to step over, you know. So with that being said, we're coming into obstacles right now that are so big that we might not be able to overcome them unless we can organize. Because anything that's ever fought against the oppression or the bullshit that happens within this country, it's always happened with an organized front. Only thing is, back in those days, it was more of a might makes right mentality. So nowadays where blacks have the right to bear arms, they have the right to open businesses, they have the right to leverage credit and do other things in this world that put us in positions to have some form of success and some shot at some extreme levels of wealth, respect, and influence, right? But then you get to the next barriers. You get to like the Epstein class. You get to all these other big corporations, whether it's big tech, whether it's big pharma, and all these other things. They have certain gatekeepers up there that prevent us from having the level of influence that can actually give us the supreme reign over this great wealthy country. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, we've always been organized when fighting against these battles, whether it's white supremacy, whether it's mass immigration taking jobs, you know what I'm saying? So these new obstacles require a different level of organization that we haven't shown, at least at this point, you know? Like we've shown other types of resistance, whether it be back in the day, you had the Nat Turner rebellions, then you had the Civil War, which they try to say whites ended slavery, but they never seem to mention the fact that it was 180,000 black soldiers fighting in that same war. So the fact that we've been giving anything was always a hilarious fallacy in my eyes, with me understanding what I understand about history in modern times. You know, it's just kind of funny. And they always try to throw these holidays and these freedoms and all these things in our face to make it seem like we are exactly where we need to be. Some people might feel like they're where they need to be, and you have the right to feel that way because you have the freedom to think what you want to think. If you feel like being able to just being able to have a couple cars, a nice garage, and a way to fulfill your kids, if you feel like that's your ultimate freedom, that's not an illogical way to look at it. But What if you put your kids in a position to inherit your wealth and they use their wealth to create even more barriers? And let's say they might like to party on weekends, or they might like to enjoy themselves or celebrate in different ways. And the powers that exist up top, them lizards and them snakes that exist at the very top of the game, they try to find a way to siphon all those funds that the family built, or they try to find a way to break down everything that your past families have built due to just the prejudiced nature of some of the people in this country, the racist nature of some of the people in this country, the sexist, the misogynist, whatever you want to call it, right? So we have to break a lot of these habits and ideologies that we have and the complacency mindset, feeling like that we're too small to fight and we should just fall in line. The good fight is never over. You can be grateful for how far this country has came, and you can be grateful with where you're at now in society, and you can be grateful for the fact that you can actually walk outside, breathe fresh air, jump in your car, drive to work, go to the club, go to work, and just be able to do what you got to do. And that is something to be grateful for, but it's also willing to understand that we are not done fighting, because you have people constantly passing laws. You got people trying to take our Social Security. You got people trying to kill the power of your voice. You know, you can't never say something about certain groups and certain entities of people. You can't never really say what you want to say without being silenced or being blackballed from a mainstream audience that you might need to push your message as far as you need to push it, you know? So with that being said, man, always be grateful for what you got and how far you came, but also understand that there is power that we don't have, and another group has say-so over how far your power can go, or whether you pay these taxes that you're really not even supposed to be paying, because taxes were originally introduced as a method to rebuild the economy after the world wars that depleted it kind of badly. But they found a way to put all this stuff on us and put us in positions, take Social Security, take Medicare, take medical treatments and all these different things from the elderly. And they've even been talking about raising the retirement age. So at this point, man, we got to push back, and we got to get these old Renaissance mindset Americans out of office, and we got to put in young people that can think for the whole entire spectrum of this shit. Because the motherfucker we got in office now, he only makes decisions for the top 10%, thinking it's going to trickle down, when a lot of the elite capitalists in this world, they only think about profit margins. That's the reason that they want to replace human workers with AI, because they feel like it'll be cheaper. But if you do your research, you just see that Ford defunded their AI program because they was just able to prove that the AI equipment doesn't have the judgment and doesn't have the ability to decipher certain components when they were building the Ford motors, you know? So basically what I'm getting at is, man, we got to put people in that can make decisions for all of us. And if we continue to be complacent, don't vote in certain things, a lot of the stuff that we complain about will never change. And that's why I'm here to talk, because my message is, we can celebrate the freedoms that this country has, but understand that we are not completely free. It's just the illusion of freedom is able to be propagated in such a way that we can be distracted by video games. We can be distracted by the club scene. We can be distracted by Instagram. You know what I'm saying? This phone I got in my hand right now, you know, we can choose to be distracted by all these different aspects of what's going on in the world, to the point where people don't want to fight to continue our search for the true power and freedom that we really want. And it's not even more about power. It's really more about freedom than it is power. Because power comes from who you can influence, what you can build, what you can create that is able to generate and produce an abundance. You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, be grateful at all times, but also understand that the fight is not over. We got to keep doing it on behalf of the people who fought for what we have now. Precise Progression 97, unlimited shots in the Mental Mac 11. Use them. You gonna need them. Don't waste them. We are at war.